Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
What's up, everyone? This is your boy, Mike Holland at MC Holland 34, back with you on a one and done live before lock. Yes, live before lock. We're going to try to fit this 12-game DraftKings slate into a cool maybe 53 minutes or so. Try to get you guys out of here at 11:30 Eastern as the slate tips off at 12 o'clock Eastern. Shout out to my guys, Eric, Chris, and Jay. They are not too far away, but I'll be rolling solo on this one. And yeah, 5K to first. I'm in for that. $30 KOB seat. I'm in for that. So let's break this thing down and let's have a great show. Appreciate everyone joining. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. But yeah, let's dive right in. So first thing I want to talk about, just a kind of an overview of the slate. I mean, we've got 12 games. Pricing. It's been pretty tough for the last couple of weeks with condensed rotations. The value, which value today is going to be pretty tough to find. But pricing overall feels pretty soft. Like you can kind of get to wherever you want. Now, we obviously need some injury news to come through. We've got a couple of guys on the slate, Kadari Richmond, as well as Matthew Cleveland, that we're going to have to pay attention to because that will open up value. So without that, it's like, where is the value? We're going to be taking some shots on some guys that may be in the 3K range in some decent spots that we're just hoping to get to 4X. But on the slate, we've got 5 Big 12 games. So there's going to be some tough defenses on this slate, some games that we're going to cross off. And then, of course, we have Ed Cooley's return to Providence. So looking forward to that one. I just think it's going to be a fun slate. I think it's going to take a lot of fantasy points, especially if this injury news comes through on Kadari Richmond. So yeah, we got some comments here. Looks like Taylor popping up here early morning, live before lock with the old, as Jay would say, fire emoji. We got Mike in the comments here. Mike Witzgall, man, what's up, man? Oh man, he's got it all, man. He's got the fire. He's got multiple pieces of bread that he's ready for. I am definitely ready to get on multiple pieces of bread. So without further ado, why don't we jump in to a core 4 that we love to do. Now, we love to do 2 core 4s. We like to give you a cash core 4 and a tournament core 4. With the core 4, it's going to be a little different today. I am 100% locked in on Isaiah Coleman from Seton Hall. He's 4,300. If Kadari Richmond is out, he's going to play a ton of minutes. He's very cheap. He's popping off in the projections here. I'm going to have to put him in the cash and the tournament core. So he's going to be a staple as long as Kadari Richmond stays out, which, looking at the lines, the Vegas lines, like it looks like they're kind of adjusted for him being out. He was in street clothes last game. So pivotal news. We'll call it a core 3 to make, just to, kind of give us some wiggle room there in case Kadari is in. So for cash, I think you got to look at Julian Reese from Maryland at 8,400. Joshua Duro from Providence at 7,600, and then RJ Davis, who has been playing lights out, at 8,200 for North Carolina. When you factor in the Isaiah Coleman news and putting him in with Kadari out, you're looking at 53.75 left per player. Of course, the cash, we like to spend a little bit more. We are looking for obviously guys with higher floors. And then on the tournament side, for a kind of a core 3 to go with Coleman, we're going to be looking at Jameer Young from Maryland. We got Wooga Poplar. Yes, Wooga is now down to 6,400. So the Matt Cleveland news obviously affecting the Miami guys. And then Armando Bacot at 7,500. I can't remember the last time. I don't remember seeing him down here at this price point in a very, very long time. He is at 7,500. So when you factor in Coleman with these guys, you're looking at 5,800 per player for tournaments. Obviously, these guys carry, Young's got a little bit higher floor than these other guys, but Poplar and Bacot obviously can disappoint, which is why they're more suited for tournaments. So we'll go with those for the core 4s in here. We got a couple more commenters. Who we got in here? Looks like we got Tommy Kramer. Greetings, guys, plural. Hey, what's up, Tommy, man? Anthony Taylor, first time in. Let's get it. appreciate you stopping by, my friend. So yeah, let's jump right into the rundown of this thing. First game, man, right out the gate here, one of the highest totals on the board. Georgia +7 at Florida, 159-point implied total on KenPom. For the Georgia side, man, I did not think we'd be looking at Georgia very hard, but obviously Florida is a pace-up spot. Both teams playing in the top 100 in tempo. Georgia's now condensed their rotation, which had been very annoying at the beginning of the year. Obviously, a lot of teams playing a lot of guys early in the season. As you get to conference play, that tightens up. But popping off for 76 implied points against this Florida defense. This Florida defense is, it's not very good. When you look at points per possession or points per 100 possessions, they are -10 in conference play where they were in the non-con. So giving up 10 more points per 100 possessions. They're giving up 54% from the 2-point range. So you like that for the big guys over on the Georgia side. And technically it is a pace-up spot with Florida playing at the 20th tempo and Georgia playing at the 87th fastest tempo in the country. I'm looking at 3, maybe 4 guys on the Georgia side. Silas DeMary at 6,900. He's a guy that he's a kind of a cash type play. The upside, it's a kind of annoying that he's 6,900, but he does have 5x upside at this price. Obviously flashed it in the last couple of games, so definitely don't mind going to DeMary here. Abdur Rahim is like the ultimate tournament play on this slate. He is 6,800, put up a 44 bomb. He's super shot dependent. I'm going to get him in a few lineups. I think I'm playing close to like 15 lineups today. I'm going to get him in a few. You can game stack him with DeMary, with Thomason, with Russell Shewa. He's a guy that's just going to take a ton of shots, and he's getting a ton of minutes right now, so you definitely don't mind that. But if his shots aren't going in, he will put up high teens. He will put up low 20s and kind of sink your lineup. So definitely tournaments only. Russell Shewa, I can't believe that this guy is going to be one of my more popular tournament plays. Coming off the 33. I mean, Florida just cannot defend inside. So Shewa at 5,800, coming off the 33. The minutes aren't always secure with him. So it is very, very risky, very volatile. I love stacking him with either Abdur Rahim or DeMary if you're trying to get into a game stack in the side. So, yeah, Russell Shewa, he is in play, definitely because the matchup suits him. And then I guess you can look at Noah Thomason at 5,300, playing high 20s minutes. He's a GPP option, right? Like you're saving $1,600 off of Silas DeMary. So I don't mind it. I don't know that I will get to him, but I could see obviously we're playing against a bunch of people today in the big jam. So, these 2 to 3%, 1% plays are going to go so much farther. Playing a guy like Thomason and him getting like a 30 bomb. So it's been a long time since he's done it. He hasn't done it very many times over the course of the season, but he is in the player pool for sure. Over on the Florida side, 83 implied total here. I mean, Georgia, their effective field goal percentage in conference is terrible, so they're giving it up from all over the floor, nearly 52% to opponents in effective field goal percentage. They're 254th in the country in opponent assist rate. So teams are just slicing and dicing here, which is why Florida has that 83 implied total. We know Florida can be frustrating, right? Like it just kind of spin the wheel on which guy's turn it is. And sometimes these guys just don't hit their ceilings. They all kind of just plateau at a certain point. So, all the normal guys are in the player pool, especially at this implied total. You at least probably want to get one and maybe 2. But obviously with that plateau on a lot of these guys, it's tough, and they are priced up. I mean, Samuel's at 7,300. He's okay. Like it's not, more of a cash play. I don't know why you even need to get to him. More of a cross off in tournaments for me. Every now and then he'll pop off for that big game of 38 or, even a 40 sometimes. So if you want to go to him in a GPP, I guess you can. I mean, that really would be his label. As far as ceiling, he could get there at 7,300 and no one's going to have him. Clayton, probably my favorite play on the side. He's now 7K. I was paying, 8,000 for this guy 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. Obviously, he hasn't done anything at this price point to really get you super excited about a tournament, but he's a guy that takes a ton of threes. There's a guy that can create for him. So, he's got that baseline. He's basically getting you 25 to 26 fantasy points in the last 4 games. So you're already closing in on 4X there. All it really takes is a good matchup and him knocking down some threes to really blow this thing up. So I like Clayton here. Zion pulling. Yeah, he's there too. He's got 4X upside, 5X upside. In this tournament today, though, I think you're going to need to close in on 5 to 6X, which is why I like Clayton a little bit more. But Zion pulling, obviously, the assist rate is really nice. He can shoot threes, so he can hurt Georgia in a bunch of ways. So I definitely don't mind getting to pulling as well. So that'll wrap up the Georgia-Florida game. We'll slide over to Nebraska and Maryland. This one seems ugly. At least on one side, it is kind of ugly. On the Nebraska side, it's 139 implied total. Nebraska's +1 on KenPom. I mean, Maryland's the number 1 adjusted defense in the Big Ten. You're just not going to have a lot of fun playing these guys. I played Mast and had that tie for 7th a couple of days ago when he put up the 60 bomb. I don't know that you need to go here in a tournament. He's always in play because he has 50 to 60 fantasy point upside. This is just not the spot, though. Not against this Maryland defense for me. Bryce Williams, if you want to get different, he's at 6,900. His rates are nice across the board. He's going to be playing big minutes. Like I said, this spot, headed to College Park. I just don't know that you need to use these Nebraska guys. I am way more intrigued on this Maryland side. So the 70 implied total is just kind of meh, right? But when you look at it, this is a pace-up spot for Maryland. Nebraska's been terrible. I mean, they've had a great season, but they've been terrible defensively in conference play. They're giving up 10 more points per 100 possessions in conference play. They're giving up a ridiculous 40% from 3 in conference play. So give a notch up there to Jameer Young, Jahari Long, Donta Scott. Also, nearly a 68% opponent assist rate. That's dead last in the conference. So, man, Maryland, I could see them going over this implied 70-point total. So I really like them, especially when you have the condensed rotation. You've got Young and Reese. I mean, you're paying for them 8,600 and 8,400. Young tournament upside, man. This guy can get you a 50. I really like him to get into the high 40s in this game. So I'll be playing him. Obviously, we've got him in our core. Julian Reese at 8,400. Maybe not quite the match. He had the matchup last game. Dropped the 41 spot. In this one, I kind of favor the guards in this one, or at least guys that also shoot threes like Scott. But he's capable in a tournament of putting up a huge number, another 40 piece. I mean, these guys are playing 36 to 40 minutes basically. So you want to pay up for these guys. Scott at 6,600. Man, he feels like $500 overpriced, so it doesn't feel great. But he's a good stacking partner if you want to play him with Jameer Young. And then, Jahari Long, I'm going to give him a nice, good look in tournaments. Looking at maybe a 10% clip for Long, it's definitely scary. I mean, he's only put up a 10 and a 12 in the last 2 games, and that was following a 7, a 1, and a 6 because they play their starters a ton of minutes. Now, Deshaun Harris-Smith getting his minutes kind of cut down, so you're seeing Long kind of get more minutes. So I don't mind Jahari Long in the large field as a stacking partner if you want to get different, especially if we get news that Kadari Richmond's in for Seton Hall. That is definitely going to really shake up the slate where you're going to want to try to get to more of the mid-tier. But, that'll wrap up that Maryland side a lot. Kansas State, not going to spend too much time on this game. I mean, it's +17. I had to, do a double take. +17 at Houston, 125 implied total. Kansas State implied for 54 points. The pricing for their guys is a little intriguing, right? If you can nail the right guy that maybe has a good game against Houston, but even that, you're asking for a lot. Kaluma, Carter, Perry. I'll just, if one of those guys beats me and you win $5,000 today, I'll just live with it. Houston's the number 1 adjusted defense. Even Kansas State's the number 2 adjusted defense in the Big 12. So Houston implied to score 70 points. Jamal Shedd, I mean, he's in play. He's 8K. Hate the price, but we know he has 40 to 50 fantasy point upside. So for tournaments, I definitely like him. I don't know about cash just at that price point. I loved him at cash when he was closer to 7,200. This 8K mark, I mean, that's pretty tough for a cash spot, but I do like him for tournaments because he has big upside. Juwan Roberts, maybe. I mean, he's 6,800. Like, he's been dealing with some injuries this year. He is another guy that has big upside. It's just this game in general is just kind of yucky. I mean, Cryer and Sharp, I don't think I need to go here. 125 implied. I know they're implied for 70 on this side. This is probably the game where I'm just gonna cross off. So looks like we're getting a comment here. What do we got here? Taylor is new. If news comes out late, Richmond is in. Who's the pivot at that price point? Yeah, that's something me and Nate C. Hustle were talking about right before we came on the show. If Richmond is in, it's going to make this slate really tough. The pricing becomes a lot tougher because there's just not that value play that opens up for you to spend up on two guys. So Jahari Long's a way to game stack Maryland at a cheap way. There's some other guys we're going to kind of talk about that you can slide in there. And one of them actually comes from this Virginia-Louisville game. Virginia -6 at Louisville, 130 implied total. Not a great total. They already played this game. It was at Virginia, 77-53. If we get a tighter game, I really like the Virginia side. In that game, McNeely, he hit 4 threes. Dunn went 15 and 10. Beekman went 11, 1 and 8. Didn't really have to do much in that game. And then Tane Murray at 3,100, he had a pretty decent game as well. So I'm looking at the Virginia side. They're implied for 68 points. I could easily see them going over this spot, which makes me really like them. Beekman's 8,100. Always a good cash play. Basically, you can always assume he's going to be in our cash board for this Virginia team. And then he's a tournament play whenever he's in pace-up spots or against a bad defense. So you can use him in both. I don't mind it. He's got 40 to 50 fantasy point upside. At Louisville, you hope this game stays tighter because then obviously he will be way more involved. I'm going to throw him in a lot of my double ups, and I'm also going to be looking at him for some tournaments and just praying that Louisville can somehow keep this thing close because we know the doors can get blown off pretty quick with them. Ryan Dunn at 7,200. I mean, like I said, he had 15 points, 10 boards against them. He has stock upside as well. He's coming off the 42. Man, like we knew him and McNeely last year. They weren't gonna get the run, but that they had so much upside coming into the year. And absolutely, he's showing it off. He's only 7,200, so you like that for tournaments. So I'll be going to him. Finally, Minor at 5,800. We're not having to play him at 4.4. We're not having to play him at 3.9, and everyone's playing him. He's 50% on slates. This one you have to think about. He didn't really play. He played 2 minutes in the first matchup. So for Jordan Minor, now at 5,800, you actually have to think about it. It's not just like, okay, he's a value play, click him and move on. Now he's got 30 fantasy point upside. Obviously, we know Louisville's not a great defense. They're 251st in defensive efficiency, which is so bad. I'm kind of in on a little bit of Minor, but he's maybe more of a 10% play for me now, and also a stacking partner with Beekman for a tournament. If you want, like Eric's the king of the double forward stack, Dunn and Minor. I don't mind that. I know Dunn is technically a guard on the slate, but really playing the forward there. So Tane Murray, the last guy I kind of mentioned at 3,100. He's kind of a guy the game kind of gets out of hand. He can get some burn at 3,100. It feels yuck clicking the name, absolutely. So for Murray at 3,100. If you want to take a shot, he played 19 minutes last game. I mean, he's going to shoot threes. If you get a 15, right, like you'd love it. So he's kind of a way to get weird if obviously we find that Kadari Richmond is in, which I don't think he's going to be. So we'll see. On the Louisville side, 62 implied total. It's this Virginia defense. Huntley Hatfield, if you want, I guess. Like, he plays a lot of minutes. All these guys play a lot of minutes. Mike James. Like, I'm just kind of crossing them off. And if somebody from Louisville wins 5K, absolutely, I will shake your hand. Congratulations, sir. Looks like we got what do we got here in the comments? Oh, man, AJ, man, haven't seen you in a little bit. He's dropping a line here saying winners. James is a lock for me. 6.3K. Oof, gimme. So, okay. calling it out there. James at 6.3K. We'll move on to a game that I'll be watching. I definitely want to see, especially the beginning of this game, Ed Cooley's return to Providence after spurning them this offseason for Georgetown and taking his lumps. So the Providence fans need to get it in now before he gets this Georgetown crowd going. Plus 13, 144 total. So there's gonna be some fantasy goodness in this one. One, because Georgetown plays zero defense, and two, because Georgetown plays their guys when it's not even in blowouts, like their guys see 30 minutes. When it's not blowouts and the game stays tight and stays tighter than 13, you're gonna see Epps, Cook, Styles, and Heath all play 32 to 40 minutes essentially. Especially Epps and Styles and Heath, they'll play 40 minutes in this game if it stays under 10. So, they play their guys. It's a tough road environment. I'm a little nervous. Like Epps at 7,900, he's okay. Obviously has huge upside. He's done it a few times when we didn't think he was going to do it. So definitely got him in my tournament player pool. Smashed Cook last game. Really came through for us in that matchup against Butler. Got that 30 piece at obviously a lower price at 6,800. I'm not too interested in him for this matchup. I guess the one guy I would play is Styles. Coming off back-to-back 28s, he gets huge minutes, nice rebounding upside, will shoot some threes, can poke out some steals. So I definitely like him for tournaments, maybe as a run back. Really only looking to maybe one off the Georgetown side or fade them completely. Obviously, we've got a 12-game slate, so you don't have to force them in at 65 implied total. And then Jay Heath, he's just there. I don't – like if you want to try and, get a game stack here and maybe it goes over and stays tighter. These Georgetown guys are definitely in play. Jay Heath's been playing a lot of minutes. So on the Providence side, man, since Bryce Hopkins went out, we talked about it like this. This offense is going through three guys really. Georgetown D, man, just so bad, man. Like 119 points per 100 possessions. They're getting killed inside. 60% in conference play to the opponents from 2-point land. Sign me up for basically the big three here, the new big three here for Providence. Also, they're fouling a lot. Georgetown is, so Providence number one in free throw rate in the conference, and also Georgetown getting up a 63% assist rate. So Nape's got the fire emojis. Feels like he's going to be filling that for sure. What happened to Masood from Taylor? Yeah, honestly, he just jacks up a lot of threes. He doesn't. You've got to get hot, and this is a tough Providence defense. They're 8th in the country in defensive efficiency. So not really wanting to go there to Ish. He burned me a few times. We got him on a few plays early in the season where he did well for us. But, yeah, fading Masood. But Devin Carter, what can you say, man? Like this guy trying to carry this team to the tournament on his back at 9,300. If you can get to him, get to him. You play someone like Coleman and another cheapie in another game. You can get to Carter easily. A lock for cash if you can get to him. It's really the price point, but you're going to get at least 35 fantasy points. That's all he does. He'll get you 35 plus. He's got upside for 60 in this game. Obviously, he has to do so much for this team. His rates are outstanding across the board. You can't, obviously, he's one of the most expensive players on the slate. So there's a reason for that. He's going to smash this Georgetown team. But I'm really keying in for tournaments on Oduro. I haven't used him as much as I probably should have. Once Hopkins went down, I was really trying to get to Pierre and really trying to, jam the value that has absolutely crapped the bed in Garway Duval and Corey Floyd. So for Josh Oduro, he's in the core, 35, 36, 37 in the last three. Like I said, Georgetown getting killed inside, 60% from 2-point land. He's absolutely popping off in our projections here. So definitely love Oduro at 7,600. Plus, you get the price savings, $1,700 from Devin Carter. Pierre at 6,400 feels for tournaments. I wish he was $500 cheaper. He does have 30 fantasy point upside in this game. A guy that can rack up a line of 14 and 7 as far as assists, because obviously he has a high assist rate, and Georgetown giving up a ton of assists. So he's a little interesting. I may play a lineup with him and Oduro together, but probably safer as a one-off, or just kind of moving on at that price point, because Carter's going to sap up so much usage. So, yeah, you can kind of rotate these guys or use them as one-offs accordingly. With this Georgetown side, I mean, they're implied to give up nearly 80 points. So definitely going to be using some Providence. We'll move on now. Seton Hall, Marquette. Got about 28 minutes here. Get your questions in. Let us know. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. Help your boys out. Jay will be back soon. I know you guys miss him. Eric, he's out right now, but he'll be back soon. And then Chris, Nate C. Hustle will be back this tomorrow, Sunday. Man, we're already at Saturday, man. The days are flying. So Seton Hall +8 at Marquette, 146 implied total. This is obviously the injury news that we're waiting on. We're waiting to see what's going to happen with Kadari Richmond. If he is out, I am going directly to Isaiah Coleman. Feels ugly. I don't know if I'll lock him 100%. I want to do maybe a 75% lock. He's 4,300. I mean, he's going to play 30 minutes. He put up 25 fantasy points. He played 17 minutes against Marquette in the upset at home, and it was 78-75. Dawes had the big game, but Coleman had 4 points, 4 boards, and assists in 17 minutes. So you extrapolate that over 30 minutes, definitely someone that's going to crush value for us. Kadari Richmond, if he's in, obviously he's an awesome play. I just don't know how you get to him with value at that point. It makes all the guys that are kind of 8,500 and above a lot harder to get to. I don't have a lot of interest in the Davis Bediako train. It feels kind of meh. All the usage and everything kind of gets sopped up by the guards. Alamir Dawes, Adai Wusu is always an interesting tournament play. We told you guys a few slates ago that he had 40 fantasy point upside, and he went out and got 40. So Adai Wusu, if you want to use him, he is an interesting way. But this is a tough road environment at Marquette. Seton Hall in a little bit of a slide right now. I'm just going to be looking at Isaiah Coleman, which is probably going to be super high owned if Richmond is out. On the Marquette side, 77 implied total. Pricing's there. Kolek, right? He should smash with no Richmond out. Obviously, Richmond, a very good defensive player. Didn't have a great game in that first game. Has picked it up, has 37, 41, 49 in the last 3. So Tyler Kolek, definitely worth paying up for. Seton Hall's 329th in opponent assist rate. Overall, this game's just kind of weird with pricing. I mean, Iguodaro at 8,500. There's no way I'm paying 8,500 for him. I know he nearly put up a 50 spot. But Bediako's a tough inside. So Seton Hall, they're just kind of annoying sometimes to play in the DFS landscape. Jones at 6,700, a great tournament option. That being Cam Jones completely burned us the other day, but has 35 fantasy point upside. Can sometimes reach maybe a 40 if he's hitting all of his shots, with super shot dependent. We'll poke out some steals every now and then, but at 6,700, Cam Jones, if you're playing the large field, I don't mind going to him. Ben Gold at 4,200 is kind of the 6th man now. So, obviously with the injuries to their guards, Jones and Ross, condensed rotations, they're kind of sliding Joplin down to the 3 whenever some of the guards come out. Gold's playing, back up 5 minutes. He's playing 4 minutes. Put up a 14 last game at 4,200. You're just looking for 4x, right? So, he's in the player pool. It doesn't feel great, but we're looking at a little bit of Ben Gold maybe if Richmond is in. AJ coming through here. Daiwusu, 0 for 13, 0 points last game. In my eyes bleed. Oh, with the Seton Hall money line. Yikes. Yeah, Seton Hall without Richmond is the Dolphins without Tyreek. Oh, man. I've been telling Nate C. Hustle that okay, I'm not going to get into the 49er talk. He's probably watching this right now. But Tommy Kramer coming in. So GSM has 3 guys on their injury list, ballers. Yeah, man. I'm having to sop up the usage. So, hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Like I say, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Got about 24 minutes. Running down here to what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we got a good time here. 6 more games, so halfway through. This is these next 2 games. I don't know how many players we're going to want from these next 2 games. We got Kansas pulling up here +5 at Iowa State, 145 implied total. Iowa State 75, Kansas 70. This is a tough road environment here for Kansas. ISU's third in adjusted defense, 7th home court advantage per KenPom. So this is going to be an absolute slugfest. Obviously, with Kansas, their guys play huge minutes, especially now that Jay's guy, Furphy here, went completely nuts. I can't believe I'm saying it, a 43 spot. There's just no way I'm paying for Furphy at 6,500 for the 43 spot. Pretty ugly road environment here. So not paying for Furphy at 6,500. If you do, go ahead. I think you're going to be in for some punishment, even though they looked really good. Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough, they're always in play. I wish the pricing had come down a little bit more. I would like to see Dickinson, in this spot closer to, 8,200, McCullough closer to 7,800. It's about $500 overpriced, which is going to keep everyone off of them, which means you're probably going to get 38 minutes from both of them. And they do have upside. It's obviously a little limited in this spot, but each one of them can go for 40. So at 8,300 and 8,700, they are in tournament play. I don't know that you need to go to Adams or Harris. Like it's just not for me, man. Like I'm more interested in the Iowa State side, honestly. Like when you look at DeJuan Harris, it's just been so frustrating because he just doesn't shoot the ball, right? Like, he has high assist rate. The steal rate is way down this year. I just don't have any interest in Adams or Harris. On the Iowa State side, 75 implied total. Kansas defense, they have some issues. Like they're down 9 points from the non-con in points per 100 possessions. They're 8th overall adjusted defense in the Big 12. They're giving up the 3 ball. Now ISU can't hit threes. Well, 2 guys can. As a team, they're terrible from 3, especially in conference. But you have to look at 3 to 4 guys on the side have to get a look. Like Taman Lipsey at 7,200. This is the guy that people were playing. You were playing at 8,500 not that long ago. So Taman Lipsey is definitely somebody that I'll have in the tournament player pool, a guy that can go for 40 fantasy points. So definitely don't mind it. Milan Mosilovic at 6,400. I mean, him and Gilbert are the guys that can, him and Lipsey are the guys that can beat you from 3. So they get a little bit of a bump here. 6,400 though, man. Like, that price is kind of disgusting for a 31 spot. Yeah, I don't know. Gilbert at 7,100. Coming off the 39, has a 34. These Big 12 games, I'm not quite getting too many guys in these Big 12 games. It's tough road environments. And some of these offenses are just terrible. So Iowa State, a little bit of interest, but kind of more of a cross off. There's a question here from Micah. What's up, Micah? Appreciate you joining. Robert Jones, tourney viable. I mean, I don't know that you need to go here. He's at 4,600 now. So his minutes are volatile. If you want, you can take a shot at him. I don't know. I would rather take a shot at some value guards, to be honest with you. Like, I know these other guys are coming off the bench, and he's a bench piece too. So I mean, all these other guys coming off the bench. I mean, it's just one of those deals where I want to try to use Coleman, pay up for somebody, and then work through the mid tier. If Kadari Richmond's in, I don't want to be slumming down here under 5K unless we get late injury news. So Micah, if it's me, I'm not gonna roster Robert Jones at all. Game theory wise, he's in play for sure. But Iowa State, running a lot of guys in that front court, so I don't know that I'll really get to any Robert Jones today. The next game, too, another Big 12 game that's kind of on the fringe of a cross-off here. I mean, you got Texas Tech +4 at Oklahoma. I mean, the guys are going to be on the floor. They're all kind of in the mid-tier. Texas Tech, number 1 offense in the Big 12, but it's a tough road environment against Potter Mosier. Not excited about that. The Oklahoma side, I like it a little bit better. Tech's defense in conference play has been pretty terrible. I mean, they're really, really like solid teams, but it's something to get excited for on the DFS streets. I mean, if you want, you could look at Pop Isaacs or Joe Toussaint, whose price has really come down. On the Oklahoma side, like Javian McCollum, I mean, he's now 6,800. You don't mind it. Uzan's always in tournament play, always in tournament play at 6K. this is just not a game that I'm really finding myself getting a lot of attention as I build out my rosters. So we'll kind of cross that one off. But if you want to play a McCollum or an Isaacs like in a tournament, I get that. Moving on here, Texas +8 at BYU. Got about 18 minutes here. 150 point implied total. BYU 79, Texas 71. I am a Texas fan, but I would take this +8. I know it's the Marriott Center, one of the toughest places to play. But BYU's defense has really fallen off, -11 from where they were in the non-con and points given up per 100 possessions. So they have been giving it up. Texas is actually number 2 in effective field goal percentage in conference play. That is because Dylan Dessou is now involved in the offense and playing 30 minutes. And Max Abmas has really gotten it going. Both of those guys in play for tournaments, 7,700 for Abmas, 7,400 for Dessou. I'm going to kind of mix and match where I use these guys. I don't think I'm going to play them together. It doesn't really scream that with an implied 71 total. Abmas is a little more cashy. Dessou's got that big tournament upside that you look for. Can get you a 40 or 50 in that spot. But BYU, they've got a lot of bodies they can throw at him. To say that he's safe by any means would be, I feel like, a little bit of a stretch. Dylan Mitchell, 6,300. The price needs to continue to come down for me to get to Dylan Mitchell. I know he had the nice game. He had a 30 spot the other day. I want to get him to closer to 6K or just under 6 when you got Abmas and Dessou taking a lot of shots, Hunter running the offense. You got Horton chucking up threes. So I'm going to say this, and it's not going to feel great. Weaver here at 3,600. Coming off the 21 spot. If you have watched any Texas basketball, which I've watched almost all the games, his minutes are starting to tick up. Horton's minutes are starting to tick down. He played 28 minutes last game. Super athletic. Came over from UT Arlington. Has a lot of upside, especially for next year. At 3,600, he is a guy that I am looking at to even use, even if Kadari Richmond's in and we can't get to Coleman. Like, he's someone that I'm still willing to use with Coleman as value. You're slotting in 4,300 Coleman, slotting in 3,600 Weaver. This is a pace up spot for Texas. Horton's minutes have gone from 35 down to the 20s. Weaver's has gone up to the end of the 20s, now reaching the high 20s at 3,600 to find someone that plays that many minutes. He will have the ball in his hands. Now, not a huge shot rate or anything like that, but this should be a game that kind of gets up and down. I think the KenPom total was 152 yesterday, so came down a few points, but definitely have some interest in Weaver here. On the BYU side, I mean, the Texas defense hasn't been great. Giving up 38% from 3 in conference play. BYU likes to shoot threes. They also are very efficient inside. The problem with BYU is that they play everybody. Now, they've condensed it a little bit more recently, which is nice. Dallin Hall at 6,200. He plays kind of the most secure minutes on the team. One that if I had to bet like who's going to get 30 minutes, it would definitely be Dallin Hall. I don't know that I love the matchup. Tyrese Hunter is a really good defensive point guard. Texas defense can obviously get attacked inside. So, if BYU had an inside presence that, like, if Traore was playing 25, 30 minutes, I'd have a lot more interest in attacking this BYU side. But all these other guys, Spencer Johnson, Trevin Nell, Noah Waterman's popping off a little bit because he's the guy that can shoot threes. He can get rebounds. He can do a little bit of damage inside. He's coming off a 28 to 30. So you definitely don't mind that. I'll be playing a little bit of Waterman. All these other guys, man, like Khalifa, Saunders, I don't know that you need to go there. So this BYU side, even though it's implied for 79, they sometimes they feel like an Arkansas or an Alabama where it's like, their 79 is a lot different than, a Miami 79. Like, you don't know sometimes where it's going to come from. We got Cam checking in on the streets here. Checking in, Mike. Hey, what's up, Cam, man? Let's take it down, man. 5K to first, dude. Let me know who you got in the core, Cam. I'm sure we're thinking similar. So drop that in. Moving on to West Virginia, as our guy Jay would start singing right now. I don't have time to sing. We got about 14 minutes till we close this thing up. West Virginia +5. At Oklahoma State, 141. A few interesting players like Raekwon Battles. I mean, he's always interesting for tournaments, right? He's just so volatile, though. Jesse Edwards, obviously, maybe playing. If you guys have that information, drop it in there. These two defenses are pretty bad, though. So I don't know, because I'm like, okay, they're the two worst defenses adjusted in the Big 12, but they're also two of the three worst adjusted offenses in the Big 12. So that's why we're getting a 73-68 game here. West Virginia on the road. I don't have a ton of interest. The rotations are a little wonky right now. The Oklahoma State side, I have a little more interested. I mean, they should fire off a lot of three balls in this game. So you definitely like that for the half-point bonus. They're also effective at getting to the free throw line. These guards, they drive real hard. So Javon Small at 7,100. A lot of usage here, 33 to 40 fantasy point upside for Javon Small. Definitely don't mind using him. I have a little more interest in tournaments on using someone like Bryce Thompson or John Michael Wright. Thompson's at 5,500. He is a guy that does have 30 fantasy point upside. Completely volatile, though, so you got to be careful when you roster this kid. But he is someone that can go out and get buckets. John Michael Wright at 5K is now playing 28 to 30 minutes a game, which is nice. He was kind of lingering in those teams for a good chunk of the season. But, at 4X value, he just did it basically the last two games. When you combine them, he's basically at 4X, a 21 and a 19. So John Michael Wright, now that he's playing 30 minutes, 5K, you need a salary saver and maybe a last man in. Definitely don't mind it. Checking in on the comments, Jeremy Wilson. Glad I'm watching the show from the warmth of my couch and not the cold ass forklift. Go Heels. Nice, man. Yeah, we're glad to hear that too, man. Appreciate you joining, Jeremy. AJ's calling OSHA now. He's saying he's just kidding. Appreciate that, AJ. Good looking out, man. All right, a couple of more games here. We got about 11 minutes till we get out of here. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. All the broskies will be back soon. We're going to be doing a recap show with Nape C. Hustle tomorrow. We'll give out some core plays for the Monday slate. And then we'll probably be back on Tuesday and Wednesday, hitting it heavy. So you'll get to see Eric the Blue, as well as Country Roads Take Me Home. Mr. Heinrich himself will be back to sing to you, so you don't have to listen to my monotone voice for a whole 50-minute show. But I digress. We move on. Hitting up. See how a little more voice inflection there. North Carolina -8 at Florida State, 152 implied total. North Carolina been awesome this year. Absolutely love it. As we get Eric in the comments here, you rang. See, totally love that. I love that profile picture, man. It's beautiful. All right, moving on. North Carolina here. I love the pricing with North Carolina. I feel like we just gotta go Heels. I kind of like Florida State to pull the upset. So if you're playing money line, yeah, you can get some great odds there. This is a tough Florida State defense. They have a ton of bodies they can run out there. Leonard Hamilton, man, you can't count him out. I was actually shocked at the Ken Palm line. I would assume the regular game line is probably closer to 7 or 6, or we'll get bet down to that if it's at 8 right now. So definitely don't mind the Florida State upset. Sorry, guys. Problem is here, but on DFS streets, like you kind of like the problems that Florida State has. If you're rostering North Carolina guys, they're 338th in opponent free throw rate. So North Carolina should be able to get to the free throw line. Baycott, Davis, guys that draw a lot of fouls. FSU is also giving 56% to opponents from 2-point percentage. So this should be a game that Baycott absolutely smashes. So Dimitri dropping in here saying, I don't even know what that acronym is, man. So let's go Tar Heels. Knowles struggle to score. They do struggle to score unless Jameer Watkins is going bonkers. But yeah, I'm looking at RJ Davis. Obviously at 8,200 in the core. I mean, you just pencil him in. It feels like for 40 every night, 40 fantasy points. I mean, he's just been playing so well. Thought we were going to get him like at 9K on the slate. I'm glad we're not. So definitely like me some RJ Davis on these streets. Armando Bacot, 7,500. I mean, FSU, like I said, 56% opponent 2-point percentage. Yeah, we want some Armando Bacot smashing inside. Should have a chance for a double-double. Gonna have a hard time stopping him, which is obviously why I think the line is what it is. We'll see if Florida State can get the ball pressure and make some shots. Harrison Ingram, 7,100. This is more of a Bacot day for me. I love using Ingram when Bacot's like 8,300 or 8,500. I just can't go to Ingram when Bacot's $400 more in a better spot in a better matchup for him. So Harrison Ingram, he's a guy that can get you 35. So if you're playing tournaments, like he's still live. Cormac Ryan, love him as a game stacking option. Hate that his price came up, but obviously that was going to happen. Put up the 21 on that. He had the 4-game slate the other day, playing 30 minutes essentially. Still not shooting great from 3 on the season, but he's definitely a guy that can fill it up from 3. Has basically a 21 and a 22, 23 in the last couple of games there. So definitely don't mind some Cormac Ryan if you're trying to save a little bit of salary, kind of a last man in or stacking partner. On the Florida State side, it's basically 2 guys. It's Jameer Watkins. He's 7,800. Put up the 50 piece. Like, where was that when I rostered him, the last 4 slates? So I did hit the 39 on him. He just takes so many shots. Like, he has to do so much offensively for this team. He can poke out some steals. He's a solid enough rebounder. So definitely don't mind going to some Jameer Watkins. No one's going to play him, I don't think, at 7,800 with an implied Florida State total of 72. UNC is the number 1 adjusted defense in the ACC. Darren Green, he plays a lot of minutes, shot dependent, maybe the only other guy I would look at. But really on this Florida State side, it's kind of Jameer Watkins or nothing for me. So that'll wrap up this North Carolina Florida State side. You guys can bash me in the comments later on once North Carolina blows them out on the road by 20. But I really think it's an interesting spot for Florida State. Cam dropping in here. For the core, I'm looking at Carrington, Wooga, Samuel, and Bacot. Man, you are right there with this, man. We're actually going to talk about Carrington right now. Pittsburgh +4 on Ken Palm at Miami, 150 implied total. Need the Matt Cleveland news. Should actually probably see if we have any news on that yet. I know Rothstein's been out there tweeting in the streets. Does not look like we have, at least on the people that I follow, information on that yet. He's kind of the other piece. If he's out, we're going to be looking at some interesting plays on the Miami side. But we'll start with Pittsburgh. Implied for 73 points. You don't mind it. Getting a pace up with Miami. Miami 67th in tempo. Pitt only 273rd. So more possessions here for the Pitt side. The most expensive guy on Pitt's 6,700. So we're going to like some Pitt plays. Blake Hinson, volatile. Tournament, stacking partner with one of the guards. So Blake Hinson is in the player pool. He is a guy that can go for 35 to 40 fantasy points when he is hitting his threes. Carrington, who was just mentioned, the aforementioned, he is 6,600. Put up the 33 spot last game. It's funny that he did that because his trajectory was headed down and the minutes were headed down. And then all of a sudden, minutes are back there and shots are going in, and all of a sudden there's the upside. So at 6,600, yeah, I'm in. I know he's popping on some projections and everything. Risky though, man. I wouldn't touch him in cash, only for tournaments. So Carrington, guy's going to take a ton of shots, and hopefully he sees 30 minutes. He should be able to produce against this Miami squad. Miami's been better defensively lately. They're still giving up a lot of 3-point attempts. Both teams are giving up a lot of assists. I think you can also look at Leggett at 5,700, but kind of more interested on the Miami side, honestly. Until Leggett gets into the kind of the high 30s minutes, he's kind of shot dependent. So Federico, you can maybe look at him. But on the Miami side, if Cleveland is out, obviously Norchad went crazy. I don't know how they're really going to stop him. Federico's going to have his hands full, which makes him maybe a little bit of an interesting play, Federico, on that side if he has to stay out of foul trouble. But Omir, 55 fantasy points coming off of, and then he had 41 the game before. Getting the price up, he's at 9K. I don't know that I'm going to get to him. And if I play lineups where I have, Weaver along with Coleman, I can get to him. But we're just going to have to wait for the news. Also, Cleveland needs to be out because that just is more to go around for these other guys. He's 7,300. Matthew Cleveland, if he's in, I don't think I'm going to get to him. Nigel Pack's okay at 7K. I'm waiting for him to get back to like that 6.4 mark where I love to hammer him in tournaments. Just kind of takes out some of his upside for tournaments. I'm in on Cam, obviously. Poplar heading our tournament core 4. So definitely don't mind me some Muga Poplar. I think the guy that's most interesting in Cleveland now is George. George has 25 to 30 fantasy point upside whenever one of these Miami guys is out. Doesn't matter who's out. He's kind of the sixth man, the guy that's going to get run, but he's not a traditional sixth man. Like, I guess he is more like a traditional sixth man. Like, he comes in and he takes a bunch of shots, which is sometimes what you don't see in college basketball. You see guys come in and play like roles or defense, things like that, or just, still the main guys get all the shots. But he comes in and he starts jacking up shots. So you definitely like that. We'll have to pay attention to the news and figure out what's going on with Matt Cleveland. So if you guys have that, drop that in the comments. We'd appreciate that. I got a couple of minutes here before we finish up. That'll wrap up the Pitt Miami game. We'll go back to the cores, man. The core 4s. So we're kind of doing a core 3 because I think the Kadari Richmond news is absolutely pivotal to this slate. He is I think he's going to be slated to be out. We'll have to see. But Isaiah Coleman's just going to get a ton of run. Played well against Marquette in limited minutes last time. Played well last game when he got 30 minutes. He's 4,300. It feels like he's a lock for the core. If Richmond is out, if Richmond is in, you can't play him at all. So not at that price point, not at the amount of minutes that he would get, 12 minutes or so, maybe 10 minutes. Can't play him. But for cash core to kind of go around him, Julian Reese, Joshua Duro, and RJ Davis. That'll leave you 5,375 to play around with in the core 4. For tournaments, Jameer Young, Wooga Poplar, Armando Bacot is too cheap for his matchup against Florida State. Get those guys in around Coleman. Second best value for me. I am going to take a shot at Weaver. It's absolutely terrifying and scary. I'll be looking at some of these cheap game stacking options like Long, Murray from Virginia at 3,100. Like, just get me 4x, baby, at these 3K price points. So, if you guys have any last minute questions on for about another 60 seconds, try to build through the mid tier as much as possible. The pricing is a little down. Tommy Kramer coming through saying thanks for the show. Appreciate you guys. Still feeling a little under the weather, so appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. Looking forward to getting the guys back in the studio. Jay Jacobs, Greenville Sports Media, saying great job. Appreciate that. Cam, AJ, Leon, appreciate you joining. Jeremy, Micah, appreciate you joining. Napesy Hustle, Eric in the comments. Anthony Taylor, thanks for dropping by, man. Mike Witzcall, man, go out and make some money tonight. Make sure to like and subscribe. And hey, we got 30 minutes. Why don't we go get this bread?
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.